have four questions. One, I have a very heavy rural bias, and I certainly want to take your thinking into rural areas, right? That's the reason I'm asking you. My first question is, could you elaborate a little more on the well within a tank which would dry up? That I thought was a very fascinating thing, because the requirement of water is not the quantum of water, but its availability all through the year. I mean, that's the central part of the. So please elaborate that. I think you skipped it. I want to know what's the technique that you do there.
I think,
second is in a lot of rural areas. Yeah. Shall I finish? And yeah. Hello?
Yes, yes, Gopalji, please finish your questions and I'm sure he'll respond.
Yeah. Right. The second question, sir, is that lot of farm ponds are now being encouraged in rural areas. What is the method that you would suggest that the evaporation loss is reduced? Because it's open to the sky, right? I think that we have tried foam, we have tried plastic, we have tried green shed material, but it has its own sort of problem of that. So I would very much like that to be done. The third is a bit of an inquiry in my head, is that apart from improving groundwater, do you think that this done on a very large scale will make all our streams and rivulets perennial? Because that's how the water permeates, right? So that's my third question. And the fourth one is that I wish there were some women in your pictures. Thank you.
I think on the first question, on the first question, your point was a recommendation of well within a water body. Am I right or wrong, Sandra Gopalji?
That's right.
Where I recommended on a water body in my slide was the specific case of Jaipur, our internal terminal. There, the borewell is having water at 70 feet depth. This pond itself was about 20 feet, at the bottom. It gets dried out after rain. There, I suggested a well because it traps the water. The borewell is already having water at 70 feet. A larger well, it will trap the water with a large area, and you will get perennial water. The resolution will be. In all probability, whatever I have suggested will work out. Once they do it, they'll come back. The idea is to tap the water. Then answering Mr. Hariharan's question, in the case of Chennai itself, in Anna Nagar, one of my senior colleagues was supposed to join. He has not joined now. He's maintaining a well within his own plot. Last 2 years, he's having perennial water in the well. Anna Nagar, the water table is about 250 to 300 feet. And a 30 feet well, 30 feet depth is having perennial water by recharging the ground. His entire plot, the water is going into the ground. Some water goes into the well through the gravel pits. I hope Dr. Hariharan could get the meaning of this point.
This is one way, in fact,
I got a presentation on that. Maybe next success story, I'll share that also.
The key question many people have, for example...
this I'll answer, then I'll come to you. So what I'm telling, even in a place, Anna Nagar, which the water table has gone to 250 feet and people are having bore wells, there, a well of 30 feet depth is having perennial water in the last 2 years because we are able to retain, we are able to, harvest all the water falling in the plot, number one. Number two, it has got all the various hydraulic, analysis, which I can explain to you separately. That is one. Now, Mr. Hariharan sir, you may go ahead.
If you go back to Gopalji's question, he's saying one is quantum of water we need annually, but more importantly, how is it equitably distributed through the months in a way that I get water when I need it? If I took, for example, if I were to take your Jaipur case study, Jaipur receives about 550 mm rainfall. It receives its peak in about 4 months. The number of rain days is only about 40. Now, if you say that in a pond you put an open well and up to some 20 feet depth, I don't know what the dia is, for how many days in the non-rain months was that open well able to feed the water requirement of that building? That is the question.
Yeah, I think on the case of Jaipur, I'll answer you. With a large area of the plant, Jaipur terminal required only less than 10% of the water which falls in the plant. So, in all probability, they will have perennial water. Point number one. Take the case of my own house here. The well will be able to give me. Right now, it is giving 40 to 50%. It can meet my requirement throughout the year also, after studying it. So, the advantage is, even in the case of small towns, in case we analyze the rain, many cases, the rainfall in the area gives more than the water requirement. Many cases, except in some pockets. Even in the case of Ananagar, with harvesting in the plot, because fortunately it is an independent house. In the case of flat, it may not be sufficient. In the case of independent house, it becomes sufficient. I think Sandana Gopalji had 3 questions. Even in the case of cities.
Yeah, his second question. He has 2 more questions and one comment.
I think
the second question was.
I'll
farm
answer
ponds.
I think
Sandana
Gopalji, I'll answer second question. With the distributed harvesting pit within the stormwater drain, you will be able to reduce the flooding and improve the water quality for in the ground as well as for the riverlets, because water will go through the soil. I hope I have answered it. Gopalji?
Yeah. I think the 2 things. Is there any data to show that actually, apart from improving groundwater, actually they are revitalizing streams, rivulets? I think that's a very fascinating direction. We look at forest. How does the forest make our rivers perennial? When that's the problem, right? That's.
I think your point is very valid. In fact, without doing harvesting, by throwing the water into the drain and polluting it, we have spoiled the groundwater. Wherever we have done groundwater recharge properly, like, our own larger area of Kamgonagar plot, the water quality improvement and reduction flooding data is prevalent. Even in the case of Chennai, the observations are there in many of the wells. The water quality and water table is improved when harvesting is done. Next point is, your question is whether the riverlets have improved. Definitely it will improve. Why? Because otherwise you will be polluting the riverlets with all this water which is going through the surface in the city. Once it goes through the ground, it maintains a natural equilibrium. I hope I have partially answered Gopalji's question.
No, you did, sir. Just one last point. To cover the farm ponds. What is your solution?
Where?
Reduce evaporation loss. Farmers do. What is the way to reduce evaporation loss?
I know, reduction, many of the farmers have got their own methods. Even the mulching and, they have a lot of methods to retain the, soil water, mulching method, technologies, many simple things they do it actually. Your question may be how to reduce the evaporation loss from a water body, is it?
Yes, which is open to the sky.
Open to the sky. See, water body, water body which is open to the sky, you can have surrounding vegetation by which you can reduce slightly. Otherwise, which is open to the sky, will automatically there will be an evaporation loss. But if the depth of the water level is more, evaporation will be less actually. If the water level is, in case you put 1 centimeter of water over a plot, automatically it dries up. Suppose you got 10 meters of water, then what happens? It doesn't get dried up fast. I hope you understood my question. If your water body, if you are able to maintain, larger, the surrounding natural vegetation, and water body, if the depth is more, then the evaporation losses can be reduced. The depth is less, evaporation losses will be more. Right?
My studies show that the evaporation loss is as high as 20%, right? And in the summer months. So therefore, I'm saying there is a way in which I can safeguard that 20%, which is substantial. We tried foam. I tried all those kinds of things. So what is it that you would suggest? Because if sunlight doesn't get into the water won't be clean. That's also another point.
No, the point is in the larger body, in the case of our terminals and oil depots, what we do, when we collect the water, we pump into fire protection tanks because they are very large storage bodies. So evaporation loss is reduced. But in the case of villages and other things, the only way to maintain it, have a lot of greenery, and maintaining the water depth to a larger depth. That's the only solution. The superficial solution normally does not work. It does not work much. This has been my observation.